Delay attacking down who's the better anyway, so it's as we know.
Absolutely. We see the Cartel Turncoat make its way into the space arena as the first action of this third phase. Just the simple one drop making its way onto the board. Here is that red 5 that was so impactful for John in game 1. As we're going to see Kazada using its leader ability here. So friendly unit is going to lose all of its abilities. Then you get to take an extra action straight after that leader ability action to attack with the L337. Now here comes the Falcon as well.
Yeah, so the pink Takentan this time will be used, but he's going to deploy his leader on it to prevent Takentan being used on the Falcon. Very well played from Tosmith. And I think now he wants to go to town. He wants to go to face. He knows Bonnie is only playing 25 AP base, so all you gotta do, bro, is pound him down, and hope that it goes fine for you. So that's gonna be, once again, close game. That's a good daring raid here. I mean, yeah, this means that next turn John can attack with his red 5 and go for a double kill he could set up himself a double kill on Falcon plus. Yeah, so he's gonna take initiative, but loads of damage, 10 damage going on John's base. Still the Nerf 337s on the floor, not being answered. This is where, this is the kind of game where having your leader deploy on 6 is such an endurance. By the time Lux gets deployed, this game might already be over.
Oh, aggression though, to defeat the pilot as well as the Falcon going down, removing the upgrade, sending Kazada back into the leader zone, and then the Falcon being defeated as well. That's a nice little tempo swing, a little bit back in John's favor. There is still that Turncoat and their L337 to worry about, as well as whatever else comes out from hand. There is the pilot, Han, to get the immediate attack as well in with this Cartel Turncoat.
Yeah, and this also protects him against just attack it down. John will have to combine attack it down plus the ping of, plus like the attack of red 5 or the ping of Luke to get rid of this turncoat. And Tom is just going in town. He needs to play something for 2. If his turn is just literally playing that, it's not great. But if he has something to go alongside that Han, it's going to be really good. So yeah, this aggression here completely turning this game upside down. We're seeing one game-changing plays every single turn here. This is really incredible.
Yeah, it's a really interesting back and forth matchup and set that we're working with so far. Here is the red 5 that's going to go ahead and attack in. On attack is going to do that damage to the piloted Cartel Turncoat. With 3 resources open here for Tom. I think I saw Leia Organa. And
yeah, he's going to have something to
play.
play.
No, it's Bamboozle. Yeah, it's Leia Organa and Bamboozle as the 2 cards in hand.
Yeah, if John is smart, he's not going to deploy his leader onto his opponent, onto a vehicle, because Bamboozle here is so it's so common. Kazuda often plays 3 copies of it, so it's so dangerous. But yeah, Tom is really putting some solid pressure. 16 damage to base. Once again, keep in mind he's playing a 25 AP base. And then we're gonna see, yeah, he's getting pinged now to take off the shield, but he prefers to take the initiative, which I think makes sense.
Yeah, claim of the initiative, drawing into Koya Grand turn, as well as looks like another space unit. There's Sabine's Masterpiece. I think there's another copy of Aggression in the back of the hand for John there. Tom, however, we know that the Bamboozle is still there. It's a V-Wing that was the card that I was looking at there that John has just pulled to the front. So Koya Grand turn, V-Wing.
If he's going to make any big plays with that, with an initiative, I think he has another Aggression. But that Aggression this time, I think the best he can do is just kill the S337, and yeah, probably want to keep it to ready a unit rather than. So this Aggression not so impactful this time around. The first Aggression was completely game changing, but the second one here is not so good at the moment, but it might be good later on. But right now, just 2 small units. John, what is he going to do with initiative? He's currently only 9 HP away from death. This is a dangerous situation for John.
Oh, there is the pilot in with the Luke leader, and it's going to be met straight away by the Bamboozle. What we feared was going to happen, Thork, has indeed activated. The bamboozle sending Luke straight back into the leader zone. Here is the aggression now, maybe more out of desperation to ping the shield off of the L337 and defeat Leia Organa instead of just immediately taking care of the L3 and then readying something up as we hoped or thought that it could have potentially been.
Yeah, this aggression is not the best. He's spending 4 resources to just kill a 2-2 is not exactly what you're looking for. But if that's the only thing you can do, oh, this cunning is so impactful. He's going to be able to... He's going to go for the discard here. Find the masterpiece.
Discard away and then get the +4 boost, which is immediately going to swing into the base. That's what, 22 damage that should be now with the 2 already that was on L337. John will look to claim the initiative, but there is just 3 more damage that Tom has to find. If he has a hotshot blaster in the resource row and John can't immediately answer this L337 in one action, Tom will tie up this best of 3 set in round 6. There's the swing from John. What do we got? Do we have blaster?
Oh, he's looking in his resource. Does he have?
Oh,
he has it! He has it!
We've got it! And there's the perfect math to swing in the one action as foreseen. And we are going to go to a game 3, a vastly different game 2 there than it was in game 1 between these 2 players.
Absolutely, yeah. So basically, as I said, this L337 on turn 1 is the difference maker in this matchup. It's the unit that cannot be easily target downed. It's the unit that is going to stick on the board and prevent you from getting too far behind. Of course, the follow-away fireball was really great. So Tom Smith just had a much better early game. And when that happens, you can kind of snowball into putting so much pressure on your opponent. And then if John gets killed before his leader deploy gets in, that's once again is what we were saying earlier, is that if you can't deploy your leader, if you can't use your leader, you are so incredibly dead. So Tom here put himself very, very good position, and it's now tied 1-1.
Yeah, and it's always so important, and I think I say this in every single Star Wars Unlimited event and broadcast that I do, but it's because it is such an important thing to remember. I call it Star Wars Unlimited 101 for a reason. If you can answer your opponent's leader deployment on the phase that it gets deployed, or even the very next action is even better, but if you can answer it the phase that it gets deployed, you are in such an advantageous position because of the value that your leader can provide you when it is finally deployed. And now, with Jump to Lightspeed, you have to worry about it either being deployed on the ground arena or in space as well. So we saw from Tom the immediate action or reaction in the next moment and the next opportunity to bamboozle the pilot Luke away back into the leader zone was so impactful in this game.
Okay, so we see Tom Smith taking a mulligan. Once again, he's mulligan away. I think he had an L337 inside to took the mulligan anyway. Pretty risky play, especially since he's on the draw. He's playing second right now. So obviously, initiative is so incredibly important in this particular matchup. But he does have a fireball in hand. So if John opens up space unit, which is very likely to do, Tom Smith will have the answer. That's the A-wing, and that's the fireball. Huge play. This might force, he's going to force here attacking down. This is a huge win for Tom because basically Tom here, if you pay attention, he traded a 2-drop for a 2-drop plus 5 HP because that's the HP cost of having to run attacking down and having to use the ability right away. It's such a good trade for Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tom is able to steal the initiative away from John going into this second phase of Game 3 as well. So Greedo is going to be the play here. Not maybe the most groundbreaking play as the first action on Phase 2. But
yeah, if that's the only thing he has, that's very unfortunate. If he has something else, then it's completely fine. It all comes down to the follow-up play here.
Yeah, we'll have a look into Tom Smith's hand here. I see a couple of events and Mandalorian. It's, I think, Surprise Strike, A New Adventure, and the Mandalorian.
So many red fires here. And Tom Smith, that's the only play he has. That's a Greedo. That's, it kind of undoes a little bit of the great turn 1 that he has, unfortunately for him. It does happen sometime with Kazuda. You're splitting your deck very thin between the threats and the answers. And sometimes Kazuda can have those kind of issues. But I think if Tom, he does have a waylay in hand, so he can very simply waylay at red 5 and prevent it from getting the ping off. because I think if that Greedo gets pinged by Luke's ability, that's really, really bad for Tom Smith.
Well, instead, we're going to use a new adventure here. The Waylay was sent into the resource row, so instead, we're going to force John to bounce the red 5 back into its hand, and then its owner is going to be able to play it back down for free. So it does essentially still mean that it is one less attack that we'll have to worry about from the red 5 on our turn, but it hits the board straight back down and doesn't force any resources to get used here. So instead, we could just use one resource, fire off the Daring Raid, and clear the way of the Greedo for Tom Smith.
Yeah, so he played that new inverter because he had another 2-drop in hand. So is that 2-drop worthy of you running a new adventure instead of Waylay? We'll find out. Okay,
it is indeed with Fireball, but it's shot down straight away.
Yeah, Tom Smith is being super punished here. John simply has, oh my god, this is John. I don't think John could have hoped for a better turn. A 1-drop perfect utilization of every single of his resource. Wow, that was a crazy turn for John. And Tom Smith got completely punished for playing that new adventure instead of going for Waylay. I think he would have been much better off going Waylay, but how could he know that John Smith was going to have all the answers to what he was doing?
Yeah, now he's found himself an aggression as well that's sitting in the hand. Tom still valuing that Mandalorian, but of course the issue that you have with the Mandalorian is that it only plays into the ground arena, or only rests units that are in the ground arena. It has to be a pilot to exhaust an enemy unit in space, but with no space units on board at the moment for Tom, he has to burn 2 actions to be able to get a singular exhaustion to happen. Here is a hotshot blaster on the Kazda leader unit, though.
Yeah, it's a very good blaster. The only problem is he's so far away from lethal, as you can see here, only working his way to 6 damage. That's a nice tap though onto the res 5 with the Leia. That's gonna allow. Yeah, once again, that's oh my god, really solid aggression here, and tapping the red 5. Killing the Kazuda.
Yeah, that aggression, and it also importantly re-readying up the red 5 and essentially completely cancelling out the when played ability of Leia Organa there as well. So we'll get the extra swing to fire into base, and Tom has finally found himself at L337, but it feels like the John is just slowly starting to tiptoe ahead. The damage is very close between the two players, and remember, Tom obviously starting with that 5 HP advantage thanks to his 30 HP base, but John is starting to play the numbers game and the numbers advantage very well, and he's at 6 resources as well on this phase, so Luke will be able to deploy.
Yeah, Tom Smith needs a bamboozle to get back into this game, like a good bamboozle onto Luke Red 5 would completely swing the game back in his favor, but nothing is I don't think he has it, so that's going to be a tough one. I mean, I think that Mandalorian is a pretty decent unit to play regardless. It still is a 5/6 body that puts a lot of pressure, but Luke unit onto youth leader deploying on Red 5 is one of the scariest things you can face if you don't have an answer for it. It just completely ticks off the game. Every time you attack, you get to deal 3 damage to your unit.
Oh, here comes a unit out of the smuggle, though. This is the Lando's Pride Falcon that is going to go ahead and get played out. Does just have to come in rested because it only gains ambush if it is played out from your hand, but at the very least, it is a 5/5.
I put the card on the screen, Chaos of War.
Hello everybody and welcome back to our coverage of Day 1 here live from UK Games Expo for this Star Wars Unlimited special weekend. Hello everybody and good morning. Welcome to Day 2, Saturday of the Star Wars Unlimited Convention Weekend at UK Games Expo. My name is Ben Fitzpatrick. I'm delighted to be joined once again today by the fantastic Thork. Thork, good morning to you.
Everyone, hi Ben, how's it going? So super glad to be here and super excited for the day to come.
Absolutely. It was a fantastic day of play yesterday. If you missed out on it, don't worry too much because we have a complete new tournament for you today where 8 more players are going to earn their spots into tomorrow's Championship Sunday. 8 have already qualified, and we can quickly, before we get into round 1, because I think the players are very, very quick to start very soon, we will talk about the decks that made it. So, in first place, we had David Hoyland piloting Han to Data Vault. He was our undefeated player at the end of yesterday's event. Then Rowan Sam with Quinlan Aggression, a 30 HP base on that one for 6 and 1. Martin Lewis, Anakin Data Vault with 6 and 1. Michael Wood with the more traditional Quinlan Tarkin Town, also at 6 and 1. Dominic Kelly on Pilot Boba with Data Vault made it through, as well as John Bamford, who we saw in the later stages of day 1 in our feature matches. His Pilot Luke Tarkin Town qualified at a 6 and 1 record. Oliver Simons, we saw him in our final feature match yesterday with Han 2 ECL, and then the final player that made it through was piloting the deck that we're going to see in our first feature match, Thork, Kira Data Vault.
Yeah, so the first matchup that we've selected for you today is going to be Mark Bua Ayun running Kira Data Vault versus Josh Southwell running the very brand new Han 4 with a red base. So this is exciting. So Mark is from my local community in Ireland. He's French, but he lives in Ireland, and he's running a very similar version that Wu was running during his run in the regional qualifier in Minneapolis. So it's obviously a very strong deck running the 2 copies of the infamous Agent Callus. And Josh is running a super exciting, aggressive An4 deck. Never Tell Me the Odds. He's basically having a deck where pretty much the entire deck is an odd costed cards, and he can kind of trigger the ability as often as possible, and has a very, very powerful draw engine with the Bolshek Pilot, and with the C3PO, which almost always draws a card in this deck. So he's going to try to go wide, try to completely overwhelm his opponent, while Mark is going to be, of course, a defensive one, trying to stabilize the board, stay alive, and take over the game from there. So it's going to be an interesting matchup, but we don't see very often a very, very meta deck versus a very kind of out-of-the-bush deck. It's a deck that is known, like it's not completely unknown, and it is definitely going to be, was the most popular way to run Han 4. And Han 4, I think, has risen a bit in popularity recently, but it is still very much a tier 3 deck, so it's definitely something that can take people by surprise, and I don't know if Mark has a lot of experience in this matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. We always talk about that element of surprise, running these sort of off-meta, these slightly unfavored leaders to be able to take your opponent by surprise. And especially when you're piloting a deck yourself, that has become a known quantity now. Obviously, Kira Data Vault made a big splash across the 2 regional qualifiers, as you say, winning one of them over in North America. So here, we're going to see exactly what Josh has been able to create. So we are underway here in day 2 in our first round. We have Greedo for first off for Josh, and then the Inferno for Mark to get a little bit of knowledge of what he might be drawing in the next phase.
That's a great opening for Josh here, double 1-drop opening, putting a lot of pressure, and Mark is unfortunately on the wrong arena here with this Inferno 4, meaning that he's not going to be able to interact much with the opponent. And what he's going to have here on turn 2, like a Pal Darkside, is only going to be affecting half of the board of his opponent. So not an ideal start, but Mark obviously could see a couple of cards from the top of his deck and me try to setting himself up. Obviously, the fact that he's running a 33 HP base is giving him a little bit of decide. Oh, excellent follow-up here for Mark. This Death Trooper is exactly what the doctor ordered. He's going to go after the Greedo, and Josh is going to did not use the trigger of his Greedo, so this is a missed trigger here, but maybe that's on purpose because he knew that it was not an event. But I don't know, he could have tried it. Maybe he plays no event. No, he does play some events, so yeah. But yeah, doesn't matter anyway because that was not an event on top of the deck. An excellent follow-up here for Mark, and now Mark is capable of putting a little bit of pressure on his opponent and will be able to kill another 2-drop here. So you see the C3PO we talked about earlier, this 3PO in this deck, of course, you always use Han's ability first, meaning you're going to see the top of the deck, and then you're always going to be drawing a card from the 3PO systematically. So, yeah, some really good openings from both sides here. Josh really utilizing all of his resource well. He's going to have his draw engine coming, meaning they can just keep dumping cards on the board. Both players right now are doing exactly what their deck is supposed to.
Yeah, and I think that might have even been the reason for why Joshua decided not to go ahead and flip that top card from Greedo. Want to keep as much knowledge on the top of the deck as possible. Want to keep potentially even as many cards in the deck as possible so you can keep creating that advantage engine as the game goes on. A little bit of a look there into Mark's hand to see one copy of that Power of the Dark Side. But as you pointed out, Thork, there's just so many units on the board now, and Mark realizing that is going to take the first action of this new phase to go ahead and take care of that soldier of the 501st. Here comes the Sanctioneer's shuttle to be able to capture away that Inferno 4.
Yeah, I don't think Mark is too unhappy about this. And this Paradox side is going to be great because regardless of what Josh chooses, Mark is going to be happy about it. If it's the 3PO, the draw engine is away. If it's the Counter Spacer, he's going to draw a card. Looks like Josh decided that he doesn't need to draw that many cards anymore, so he's just going to get rid of his C3PO and just going to focus on putting the damage here. We see the ability of Hand 4 kicking in again for an extra attack on this Counter Spacer.
Yeah, and importantly in that situation, it was a odd cost with it being the 5-cost Poe Dameron and a different unit as well. So it gets the +1 for the attack as well. And now we're getting to the stage where we're hitting up towards 5 resources, and Han Solo could have the opportunity to deploy here. When it is deployed, obviously being a pilot, it can jump into either arena. If it jumps into the ground, it will just be a 3/7 deployed for 5, which certainly not bad stats as a ground unit. But if it jumps in as a pilot, which you imagine it might do with this hefty space arena that has been created, when deployed as an upgrade for each friendly unit or upgrade that has an odd cost, you get to ready a resource.
Yeah, Mark is going to play a Super Technician on the ground. That's not really what he wants to be doing at this stage of the game. He's already on 5 resources, so he can already deploy the Kira, so this is a bit late for a ramp. And he's probably going to have to use Kira's ability to kill his own Super Technician. So he's going to take an absolute beating, and this might be the turn that puts Josh ahead. So pretty much the ideal case here for Mark would be to sort of ramp into... This ramp would be extremely valuable for Mark if he's kind of heading towards a solution to this really wide board of his opponent. And the solution would be a Super Laser Blast. The fact that he did not go deploy Kira means that he probably doesn't have an Overwhelming Barrage, which would be another solution to this very problematic board. He's going to deploy Kira just to put some pressure on the opponent. But he's definitely taking an absolute beating here, and this Red 5 is going to be a way, of course, to deal with Kira over time as well.
Yeah, Red 5, as soon as it attacks, getting to deal that 2 damage to a damaged unit. It's not limited to either non-unique or non-leader, so you can absolutely go ahead and target that Kira. And with that Sanctioneer's shuttle still active as well, here comes the Han to be able to pilot. So Han ability will activate. All of our resources are going to get readied back up. So continuing to attack with a full swath of 5 resources. There is the Poe Dameron that we revealed 2 phases ago.
Well.
Yeah.
There should be 6 damage on that base. Yeah, okay, cool, updated. But yeah, though this follow-up Poe is just a problem here. There's just so much going on for Mark. Josh is having the ideal start and the ideal follow-up play here for his for what he did. So it's a lot of pressure for Mark, and he's gonna have to find a solution here. If he can't find a barrage from the top of his deck, he might also have. I think he has a Maul. Oh, he has Maul and Super Laser and Barrage here. So wow,
Yeah.
Mark has a very solid hand, and he has a lot of options here to actually get rid of a large portion of what the opponent is doing. So it's going to be really crucial right now. How does Mark decides to use his Barrage here is going to be super crucial. So he could go Barrage, destroy the Sanctional Shuttle that has the pilot. Basically, is at this point Mark wants to take as little damage as possible, and then next turn set up a Super Laser Blast. That's sort of like what is. And once the Super Laser Blast has been played, as long as it's not too low in HP, he should be able to recover from here. He also does have a vigilance, if I'm not mistaken. So this
He
is a very
does.
important turn. He's gonna go barrage, okay. Now it's so important, what does he actually kill? I think the Sanctuary Shuttle is the primary target here. Sanctuary Shuttle has 7 health. So that's gonna be Sanctuary Shuttle, and he can also... Oh, it's not... He can't... I think it's too much. He's only 6 attack with that Kira. He cannot kill the Sanctuary Shuttle. So he's gonna... I think if he can't kill Sanctuary Shuttle, he has to get rid of Poe.
Well, he's going to go ahead and get rid of the turncoat first to start things off. That's got a bounty on it as well, so we'll resolve the bounty at the end of the overwhelming barrage. And it's going to be red 5 that's going to be the rest to be taken out. Now the bounty will resolve. I think that was a no glory only results
Okay,
we
so
found off the top of the deck.
Okay, so he decides to kill 2 small units instead of getting rid of the Poe. I would have gotten rid of the Poe because Poe represents way more damage, but I think the argument for Mark here is that he wants to attack into Poe with his Kira. I think that's what that's the reason he decided to and very smart here from Josh. He's gonna attack first with the Poe. Yeah, the fact that the +4 health bonus here coming from coming from Han is very deadly. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. So the
it's
trade's
absolutely
going to
deadly
happen
here.
there. Trade's going to happen there between Poe and Kira of Mark's own accord. Now the escort is going to go ahead and get a little bit of chip damage in, but as much damage as possible matters here in this scenario, especially when you're playing up against that 33 HP base of Data Vault. Mark will simply claim with 2 resources still available. That's going to allow the shuttle to go ahead and swing in. Is there a Cassian in the resource row? Yes, there is.
Oh, the Cassian is brutal here. Every bit of mana damage. And that's GG. Too much damage going in, and the barrage not doing enough. Yeah, yeah. It's just the ideal. It's funny because Mark did have all the right cards to stabilize, but just Josh had everything. Like Josh literally had everything he could dream of. The perfect set of cards. The all the 1-drops, the C3PO to draw him card, making sure he doesn't run out of cards. Dropping every single turn multiple units, the Sanctuary Shuttle to get rid of the 2-3, which could have helped out clear the board, the follow-up play on Poe. You cannot dream for a better set of cards here for Josh. But Mark also had really good cards. Mark also had everything he needed. I think the only thing that Mark missed was the only turn that Mark missed, where the turn he played the Super Laser Technician was a very underwhelming turn for him. And I think this is the turn that where Josh kind of took over, and so that was really tough. And yeah, but nothing Mark can I don't think there's anything Mark can be sad about. I think he played perfectly, and unfortunately sometimes it does happens when both players face each other. Sometimes the better ends wins, and it's just the way it is. And this could also be a bad matchup for Kira. Obviously, we don't. Kira is not handful is not really a deck that we see very often in the meta, so it is something that is possible. Is that this could really very well be a matchup that was not accounted for from the Kira players, and therefore not a great matchup.
Yeah, and it's always one of those things, particularly in these kind of control and these villainy style decks. Being able to hit that ramp and hit that early so that you can get to those super laser blasts, to those overwhelming barrages in a quick enough timing is so important. We've seen it time and time again with decks like Palpatine and even Bosk to an extent, when it's sort of, anyways, in its early days before it found into that sort of real vigilance. I'm just going to play like 30 odd events and not really much else, and 5 units across the different boards. But that early ramp is always so important. Obviously, no resupply as an option that we saw at the very least from Mark on that game, which could have helped a little bit, as well as that earlier Kira ability to defeat the Super Laser Technician. The Death Trooper was really cool. It was a really fun little play on 3. But it's in that situation where you'd much rather look to try and see your super laser technician so that you can set yourself up, especially against an aggro deck that's looking to go wide like this, swarm out those small little low-costed units and try and overwhelm you. So Josh up a game on Pilot Han up against Kira Datavault, and the players are getting themselves shuffled up and prepared for game number 2. While they take their final preparations, we'll quickly break down exactly how today is going to work as well. We're playing 8 rounds of Swiss today. So a full 8 rounds of action, 8 games that we are going to be able to bring to you live from UK Games Expo, and the top 8 players that finish in those standings at the end of round 8 will qualify into a single elimination bracket that will be played tomorrow.
Yeah, I think for Mark, it was the turn 2 Death Trooper was correct. It's just the turn after he played this Power Dark Side was like relatively low impact. And I think that play, if he would have had a ramp on that turn 3, it would have been much better, I think. But yeah, but he probably didn't have it, so that's I'm not even blaming him or anything. It's just he's gonna go in front of 4 again. Something that you can do here whenever you play control is just pass and see where your opponent is going to play, and then match where he's going to play. See, if he plays on the ground, you play on the ground. If he plays in space, you play in space. So in this case, that's not really helpful because Josh is going to have both a unit in space and ground. Once again, double 1-drop opening. Nothing surprising. This is what Josh deck is designed to do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always awkward when you're trying to, like you say, match your opponent, and then all of a sudden they split the lanes and go, okay, I'm threatening on both fronts here. I've got a 3 damage attacker in the form of Greedo, and I've got this Cartel Turncoat here, which, okay, when it is defeated, you will get that draw a card bounty, which Mark looks like is trying to set up here with the 2 damage swing into the Cartel Turncoat, but it's not going to go straight away. Flip that top card with Han ability. It's a Sanctioneer's Shuffle, it looks like. And we're going to go ahead and get that Greedo swinging. Here. Yeah, 4 damage. And now here's the Laser Technician on 2. This is better.
Yeah, I mean, it is better because he gets to ramp right away, but it is worse in the sense that he's taking more damage. So we'll see. Oh, and Josh prefers to not attack with a turncoat. This is a victory here for Mark. So would rather just swing again with the Greedo, or maybe he has a specific answers to that Super Laser Technician. We'll see how that goes. But this is definitely a surprising play from Josh, and it's a little win here for Mark, because Mark now will be able to, even without having to play any cards, he's going to be able to clear up both balls of his opponent, and he's going to be able to ramp as well. So this is a great position to be for Mark, even though he took a little bit of a beating in this first turn.
Well, that's what we were waiting for. That's what we were looking for. We saw it on the top of the deck from Han ability. The Coordinate is active with Sanctioneer's Shuttle being the 3rd unit on board, so we could go ahead and capture up that Super Laser Technician. We were looking for that answer, Thork. That was the perfect answer to stop Mark from either just crashing the Laser Technician into Greedo or using Kira effect. Here's Power of the Dark Side yet again for Mark.
Yeah, Power Dark Side here. In this case, I think he's probably removing the turncoat. No, he's removing the Greedo. Okay, interesting. He doesn't want to let the opponent draw a card. And here Mark has 2 plays here. He's either going to kill the counter turncoat, or he's going to go and damage the Sanctioneer Shuttle so he can finish it off with something else. No, he's going to go for the turncoat here. Really, really painful here to have this ramp being taken away from him. And Josh is doing a good job at dealing a substantial amount of damage to Mark. With all that being said, once again, the fact that Mark is keeping the board clean is really the most important part of Mark's deck, because you gotta understand that the fewer units there is, the less effective the hand deploy is. So Josh is gonna have the initiative though.
Yeah, you saw there as well in that little exchange that the Inferno 4 had its when defeated ability get activated, of course, with it trading into the Cartel Turncoat. So Mark wisely electing to use the when defeated effect first to look at those top 2 cards, figure out what he might draw from the bounty claim, and then go ahead, resolve that, get the bounty claim, and draw either one of the 2 cards that he was happy with from Inferno 4, or potentially take the risk if he was not finding anything from that when defeated effect. Nice little bit of sequencing and interplay there in that interaction.
Okay, so let's see what kind of answer Mark has. If he has another power dark side, that would be great. But look at this. Josh is playing around this. Where's the deployment? With by playing the Million Falcon. That's going to be coming into play ready. A very good card in this deck, as you can play it and then deploy your leader into it. But he's not going to be able to ready as many cards as he was in the turn before. I mean, only 3 resources, sorry, this turn, which is enough for him to basically deploy a Poe again. And we'll see what Mark is able to do here. Once again, he's deploying the N4 on the Sanctuary Shuttle to protect it from removal, making it a lot more difficult to kill. The 7 health means that even if Mark has a barrage here, he cannot actually destroy the Sanctuary Shuttle.
Well, it's going to be the gunship here. The devastating gunship is going to make its way onto the board with grit. When played, he's going to be able to defeat that Millennium Falcon away. So at least it's a little bit of damage that Mark is preventing to be taking from Josh for the remainder of this phase. But there is still that piloted shuttle that's going to be able to attack and is going to go ahead and do so right now.
It's a beautiful gunship, to be honest. He went into killing a unit that was ready, and that also was dealing 3 damage, so that was a great shuttle. But here the turn is with Bolt Hamron is so brutal. Josh is really showing us the strength of this deck here, right now. And Mark now, he has initiative. Does he have an answer to Poe? If he has an answer to Poe, I think this game might very well turn in his favor. If he doesn't have one, then this game could really go out of control. So the HP is not updated. Mark should be on 12 HP and Josh should be on 4.
Yeah, well, getting that quickly updated for you now. All the damage counters, of course, on the game board. Enough of a helpful indication, but we've got our wonderful score bug as well that makes it even more clear just in case. So, Mark taking a little moment of pause here with the initiative. 6 resource turn.
As he should. He's definitely... this is the moment where you need to pause. This is a crucial moment in the game. If Mark can clean at least one of those 2 units, I think he can be in a good position. If he cannot, he's in a tough spot.
And it's a no glory only results that's going to be able to get rid of the Poe Dameron on an immediate answer.
That will work. I mean, the Sanctuary Shuttle is still there, but this is the big moment. While Josh, like, he has a 5 board on the 5 health units, but it's still kind of doable here for, like, he's not under a tremendous amount of pressure anymore. It is a far better game. And we see, this is Never Tell Me the Other thing is the card, so it deals 3 damage now. You get to mill a card, and for every card you mill that has an odd cost, you deal 1 damage, and that's going to be enough here. Oh, that's going to be a whole 6 damage into Kira. I don't think it's going to handle well for Mark unless he was trying to set up an overwhelming barrage, but now there's only 1 unit in play. And all Mark has to do is to find an answer to it, and I think if he does, he's in a good position to stabilize. Keep in mind also that the Sanctuary Shuttle has been damaged, so and another unit has come into play. I think this still is a winnable game for Mark. It's all going to come down to what he's going to draw. With the difficulty whenever you're playing against a deck that is mostly in space, is like there's a lot of cards from your deck that becomes useless. And if Mark ends up just drawing too many of those useless cards, he might end up in a really bad position.
Yeah, so we're into the next phase here. That red 5 was the unit that came down onto board for the last action from Josh of the phase. So we're going to go ahead and quickly refresh, go playing 5. Another gunship is going to make its way onto the board.
This is not great. No, does he? Is it 2 health left? I don't think so. No, he doesn't have, yeah. So I don't know if Mark made a misplay here or he just didn't have another option. And now, oh my god, this is another pilot. This is brutal for Mark. Okay, this is the turn where he loses this game, unfortunately. We'll see if he's able to come back from here. The Pershing is not what he wants to see either. Okay, maybe, like, we'll see what he has here. He's currently on 7.
After Poe! Poe is the final card in hand, played and deployed into the ground arena. Mark essentially needs Super Laser Blast to help to try and reset this board state and give him any kind of situation, a look back into this game. Does Mark have the answer?
Is he on 8? That's a big question.
It looks like he is on 8 resources. Josh has elected not to resource, it looks like, this phase with 2 cards in hand and at 7 resources. So that would stand to reason that we are now at 8 for Mark. Does he have Super Laser Blast? I see Vigilance to give us some heal.
I think he's gonna play Vigilance here to kill the shuttle and heal 5, but I don't think that's gonna be enough. There's just too much on the board here. It's just really tough here for Mark. Mark here to exhausting one too many resource, which obviously it was not intending. But yeah, I think it's just a little too much for him. Super Technician coming back, but he's just gonna take. There's just lethal on board here, and there's nothing he can do against the rest of that board.
Yeah, the
Maybe
captured unit returns.
I was like, if Josh makes a mistake and attacks with the Red 5 first, Mark could potentially play a Sentinel for 2. We know that his deck is playing some 2-cost Sentinels, but he's not going to make that mistake. Josh has been playing it absolutely perfectly here, and he's never making mistakes. He's going to go to base, discard a card to deal 2 damage to base. Josh just had, like, once again, he just never skipped a bit. He basically vomited his hand every single turn, perfectly utilizing every single resource, always having the right card. He's obviously knows this deck really well, so he's able to optimize his resource in such a way that he always gets the perfect turn. And I think Mark played as good as he could have, to be honest. I think he played very well, but that was not enough, and Mark is as to concede. It's unfortunate for my friend, but I think that he did everything he could, and Josh played very well, and that seems to be a pretty bad matchup for Kira. Kira doesn't like playing against aggro decks. Like, so it's something that we've seen over and over again. We see that whenever you look at the win percentage of Kira across the board, you see that the decks that are the most most threatening to Kira is already like the Sabine decks. Like, those very aggressive decks are always a problem for Kira. And here we could see, honestly, Mark played as good as he could. He had also really good cards. I think he had everything, especially in game 1. He had everything he needed. He just missed, but it's so punishing. You miss one turn, and then the George just empty the board. I don't know also if I'm not really familiar with Anfor. At least I'm not familiar enough with the deck to know if what Josh did in those games is like pretty normal for a hand 4 deck, or if he just got like some really nuts hands. I don't know. I don't have enough experience with the deck to know this precisely, but it was definitely like an extremely smooth sailing here for Josh in terms of his curve, always exactly using every single resource of his deck every single turn. Very impressive.
Absolutely. So Josh takes the 2-0 victory against Mark on the Kira Data Vault, and we'll start to see a little bit more of this hopefully throughout the early stages of the game. These maybe decks that we weren't expecting to do well, these decks that we weren't expecting to see piloted quite literally throughout the day doing well. We saw that, and we have seen that from the 8 players that have qualified from yesterday's Swiss event, with Pilot Luke Tarkentown and even Pilot Boba with Data Vault. How much more and what more can we see? So that is the first of 8 rounds in the books here, but we still have 7 more rounds left to play. So don't go too far, because we will be right back with the rest of the action from the Star Wars Unlimited Day 2 tournament from UK Games Expo.
I put the card on the screen, Chaos of War.
Hello everybody, and welcome back to our coverage of Day 1 here live from UK Games Expo for this Star Wars Unlimited special weekend event. We are getting towards the end of our Day 1 coverage, so some of those players either that are in the top 8 spots right now in the standings, or just a few spots underneath it, will be looking up and looking to secure their place into Championship Sunday at the end of the weekend. And 2 of those players are playing some decks and some leaders that, while we may have already seen before today, aren't ones that we would maybe have expected to have been seeing this high up and this late on in the day. It's Kazuda Shiono and Pilot Luke.
Yeah, this is a very exciting matchup. 2 leaders that have not been considered to be particularly part of the high tier of the meta since the beginning of the season. I would say Luke even more so than Kazuda, and now they're both contending for a top 8 position in table 3, so in a very high part of the standing. So the standing you're looking right now is the standing from the beginning of the last round, so not necessarily the standing that you want to you want to look at because it's not really updated. So basically, it's going to be interesting to see how this matchup goes, because obviously I don't think many people know how this would normally go. I think Tarkington is